Welcome to another episode of My Stylish Life, your favorite interior design podcast. My name is Linda Mzamane, and I'm here today with my co-host, Bridget Maya. How are you, friends?
Good. How are you?
Nice to be back here again on the couch.
Great to be back.
Of a very beautiful location, I might add.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit about where we are today?
Yeah, well, welcome, guys. We are sitting in one of the latest projects we've just handed over. A beautiful home in East London. And we have a special guest with us. This is Brad. Hello, Brad. Brad is the architect who designed this beautiful home that we had the pleasure of working with. Brad is from Tag Architects in Port Elizabeth, or better known as Quebec. Okay, thanks, guys. So welcome, Brad.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's lovely to have a guest. We've been talking about having guests on our show for so long, so it's lovely to have you here and be able to chat a little bit more about the project that we both worked on.
Pleasure.
Yeah, cool. So I think let's start. I mean, when did the clients first contact you about the project?
It was around about 2021, if I remember.
Oh, wow.
Then. As mentioned, we had done work on the project before previously on a design. These clients then purchased the property over, and we got to do take two on the design, which was fantastic. Yeah, so, and then after the initial design phase, there was a bit of a hiatus where the clients moved to Johannesburg to pursue a business interest, and then when they came back, they were ready to make it a reality, and
cool.
It was an exciting time.
Cool. So what was the brief initially to you when designing this home?
So the initial brief was your sort of a typical 3-bedroom home, but obviously what presented us with unique challenges was the layout of the site, the topography that we had to work with in that. So as we went along, the brief kind of morphed into what the site would allow us to do, three-dimensionally as we sort of enter onto it and move down to the bottom of it. It's got all of the fittings of a modern upmarket family home, essentially 3 bedrooms, which, as I said, during construction, it morphed into a 4-bedroom home.
Yeah,
so we roll with we go with the flow as we need to.
Absolutely.
That is actually going to be one of my next questions, which is looking at the site, it kind of undulates, and so that seems like it would be an immediate challenge that you might see. And what were some other challenges that you identified as you were going, and how did you address those?
No, well, that was absolutely the main challenge, that the site from the roadside down to the bottom end falls over 8 meters. And then trying to accommodate that within your standard regulations of only 2 stories. So we had to figure out how the house would step down the slope and end up still living out at the bottom of it as well, instead of just being completely elevated and detached from the site. So that was easily our biggest challenge, which, as I said, as we went through the process, allowed us to create other design interventions and opportunities that we took advantage of as we went on.
I just want to say, I think one of my favorite things about this home is when you are standing at the bottom of the site and you look up and you get to experience the architecture of it going, back up from the outside, going back up the slope. It's really quite beautiful and striking.
So for you, now that you are on the other side of the project, what would you say, Brad, is your favorite architectural detail in the house?
Architectural detail in terms of the defining of the spaces is, for me, this volume area over here.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you. It was something which we had initially going all the way through to the end of the space. And again, when you have to start working around certain regulations and definitions of stories and heights, we ended up needing to introduce the bulkhead in the ceiling area, which actually defines the lower living space a heck of a lot better, I think, than what we had initially. Again, it's one of those sort of happy progressions in the design process that goes along, even after you've kind of gone past municipal approval stages. So, for me, it is this space. It allows different levels of the house to interact with each other very well. And we're delighted to see the way that it's come out with Bridget's intervention as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Bridget, what's your favorite?
I must be honest, I think when I first saw the plans of the home, so actually, funny story, when Brad first called me to ask me, he told me I have this project in East London. The clients are interested in working with you. I was actually on the side of the Victoria Falls. I don't know if you know that, Brad.
Must be nice.
I do remember. Yeah.
But like, not just in Victoria Falls as in the town, I was literally on the side of the fall.
The waterfall itself.
In fact, I have such a memory. I was looking at the bridge that kind of crosses between Zimbabwe and Zambia. And I was like, Brad, I'm away at the moment. I'm surprised I have signal. That was the first surprising part. And I'll call you as soon as I'm back. And obviously you then popped me an email. So as soon as I was back in South Africa after that holiday, I opened up the email and I saw the architectural drawings and I was like, oh, this is such a beautiful home. I absolutely love the architectural detailing. So I was just so excited to have the opportunity to be involved in a project that was so beautifully architecturally designed. So for me, I could really appreciate the detailing that Brad had put into the home, not just obviously from the exterior architecture side, but also from the interior bits, the spaces that had already been kind of set out. It was really beautiful, and there's so many thoughtful elements, especially I think with regards to the site, like where windows are placed in this home. They capture beautiful views, like so perfectly of things outside, and I really
almost like the windows are picture frames.
Yes, they are, and
so
I think
cool.
that's one of the first things I said to Brad also when I came here. So I really appreciated that, and I think kind of the ethos or design philosophy that you were trying to create of a contemporary minimal home. And so from our side, when we got involved, we really wanted to kind of stay true to what Brad's vision for the home was as well,
Have you guys worked together before?
No.
So this is your first project.
Yeah.
How's it like working with Bridget? Did you want to pull your hair out?
Now you're on video, so you have to be nice.
On record. So here's the thing. What lies so much in the success of bringing a project like this to life is the hands-on nature of the teams that are involved. We love to be involved with every step of the process, right down to where we do the interiors. We handle part of the interior design as well with our clients. We are very engaged with the process and material selection and things like that. What is fantastic, what really brings it together is when the team is on site, handling detailing, handling any contractor queries, and actually facilitating the processes with the subcontractors and that. And for us, that's what we found Bridget and her team really brought to the party for us. They were extremely hands-on, detail-focused, and for us, working with consultants like that in our field is really what brings success to any project.
And just from a consumer perspective, can you maybe, Brad, share with us what the working dynamic is between an architect and an interior designer? Because
this is $1 million question.
Yeah, I think people have this idea maybe that architects are the ones that do the plans and then they do the plans, hand them over, and then off they go, and then everybody else does the work on the house. But what's the relationship? And it sounds like there's a bit of maybe overlap there. Can you talk a bit about what
collaboration?
That relationship is like?
Absolutely, yeah. So it can be done that way. We can do the plans, we can hand it over. The client will then might get one or two a bit of engagement with some interior design.
Yeah.
But by and large, we feel that when it's left up to them purely to piece together the elements, you don't have this sort of uniformity or this sort of homogeneous, harmonious interior that comes together. So for us architects, our main focus initially, besides taking the client's brief and developing a way that it responds to the site, you don't get many opportunities like the site like this, where the site actually talks back to the design. It actually informs the way that the design itself needs to respond to where placement of windows happens, where balconies are placed, where the house lives out and open. Our true joy is in solving that puzzle, if you want to put it that way, and creating the opportunities for the house to live the way that the clients wanted to take full, to maximize full potential. We like to introduce interior designers into our projects. We always strongly recommend interior designers to our clients, because that for us is where the extreme level of personal detail is brought into a project. we often say that if you left it up to us, architects, to do the interiors, it'll just look like what we want to look like all the time. Where interior designers have a sort of an advanced level of understanding of clients' needs and their own requirements inside a home, and how to interpret their values of materials and finishes, and that's. And so we always recommend interior designers as specialists to bring that vision through and to make it harmonious throughout the entire house.
I think that hit the nail on the head. I think that really fundamentally is the
difference between architects and
So, I mean, at that one point, we then take over the functionality of the client's needs, like how they really live within the day-to-day of their home,
their values,
and and enhance that as an experience with them within the framework that the architect has designed for us. But I will say for us, this has been a very collaborative process. I think right from the beginning, like I said, is we wanted to make sure that what we were suggesting in terms of finishes and textures and colors was in line with the overall vision that Brad had, which was of a strongly minimalist home. So we've been very thoughtful in terms of like the light fittings that have gone in, where we've done a feature wall. It's been done with restraint, I think, and
absolutely,
it's very much a play of dark and light, and I think that was our concept that we wanted to do. So because the spaces, like the volume and spaces, speak for themselves, I think, a lot of the time. So we also did though some very cool joinery, I will say. I'd like to talk about the kitchen, and we'll take that through, because when I initially saw it, so it's Brad's kind of structure, the design of the kitchen, and when we had gotten involved in the project, there was already plumbing and some services already designated in areas which we didn't want to interfere with. So we kept kind of the layout that was initially suggested, and then obviously designed around that, but there was this angular kitchen island. We detailed it up quite a bit, and we designed a custom light fitting because we couldn't find what we were looking for, so we designed our own and had it made. And I think like that speaks of itself, that in terms of what was on the plan, which showed something, and then how we were able to interpret it and translate it into the finished product. That really shows collaboration.
If you ask me what my favorite interior design feature of this house is, easily that kitchen counter. It came out unbelievably. We laid it out on plan, as Bridget said, I think speaking geometrically to what the planning was doing. And I still remember Bridget saying to us, I love that layout, I love the way it, and I was so excited to see the way it would come out. And my jaw almost dropped when I went in and I actually saw it. I'm still wondering how it actually stands up.
Is it like it's defying gravity?
It is defying gravity.
We won't tell it. It was well engineered, guys.
Really?
So cool. But I love the finishes in it as well. Sure, the stone that we used, I just personally
that rough
love.
Texture instead of absolutely.
So that's the other thing I think that we played with quite a bit if we're talking about interior features in the home, is that there is a play on textures here. We've used some like rough scratch plaster. We've used other textural paints, more of a plastered like Venetian plaster finish, and then we've used stones that are both marble, which the client really liked. So in my brief, which was a separate brief that I took to Brad, the client had expressed that they liked marble, and they liked gold.
Synergy with you, by the way.
Which is
marble.
Yeah, I do love marble, but you can see we've used a whole lot of rough stone in here, like this coffee table in front of us. You can see it's actually raw travertine. So for me, I really loved that play as little design elements. Interestingly enough, when we took the brief, the client had expressed that they really liked gold.
Yes, yeah.
And this was an interesting kind of concept for us to work with, because the home didn't really feel like it was a gold home. No. So we were very mindful on how we kind of fulfilled that aspect for the client. And we did it a lot in restraint, but there are elements, the client is really so happy with it.
Heavily brought out.
So
key
just
elements.
In what way did you bring out the gold that the client
It's
was
really
looking for?
not in a lot of elements. I mean, this light that you'll see that we designed in the kitchen, that obviously is an element. I think the lighting in itself, I mean, we have this joke about warm LED strip lighting, but it...
warm lights versus cool lights.
There's warm lighting. And
we still need to do a whole episode. We said we must do a whole episode
on
We've got a
lighting.
theme. Layer your lighting was always
Layer your
the theme.
lighting. I know. I'm so passionate about lighting, guys. I could talk about it for days. But I think that the lighting brings kind of this golden element. And then we used it in 1 or 2 light fittings, 1 or 2 accessories, 1 or 2 little furniture elements, but it's very subtle, but it's still there. Just speaking of which, one of my favorite finishes in the whole home is actually in the guest bathroom, the guest WC, where we did this gorgeous tile from Volkberg. And it's very organic and textural, but it's got these little brass inlays. So actual real bits of metal.
Hand placed by the interior designers themselves, by the way.
Hand placed.
Hand placed.
We did a drawing, but then had to come and hand place. But I'm so chuffed with the way that turned out.
Service, that.
It
really is.
Above and beyond.
I was extremely impressed when I saw that happen.
She used jargon that I don't understand. You said something WC. What's that?
A WC, water closets.
Okay, thank you for that. Also, I just want to say, if you are hearing noises, this house is a functioning home and the family is in the house with us. So I just want
thanks to them for letting us come to film
thank you to them. Absolutely. So I'm just saying it's a working home and people are here. So that's why I just want to contextualize that. Brad, you've talked to us about your favorite feature being that counter in the kitchen. I want to know now if you have advice for homeowners that are looking to build new build. Maybe they've got similar challenges that this plot presented, or generally speaking, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to build something of their own and have an amazing home like this?
From our side, it's something which we usually we're brought onto a project once a client has selected a site and they have decided to build their dream home on it, for instance. Wherever possible, try and consult a professional, an architect, a designer, even an interior designer on the selection of your site before you actually commit to the purchase of it. So many aspects about the context, about the environmental surroundings of the property, the orientation, leads to the home being a success or not, or the design being a success or not. Look, anything can also be solved with innovative design. For instance, we weren't given an option of this site at the end of the day, but at the end, it actually proved to be such a unique context to work with, a challenging topography, brilliant orientation. So it was, again, sort of a happy accident that it happened. But wherever possible, engage with a professional for that level of advice, even before you're even thinking about your design brief and your home that you want to design. The second bit of advice is don't be afraid to appoint a full consultant team as well. Besides your architect, appoint your interior designers as well. The value they bring at the end of the day, as I say, there's an intrinsic value in the home that isn't paid for with money. At the end of the day, the design elevates the value of the home, both externally, internally as well. And committing to appointing a full consultant team will see the full value and potential of a house come out.
That's amazing. I actually had never considered that it's possible to consult architectural services or an architect before you even buy a plot. I think that's quite refreshing.
I think that's great. That's really great advice. Yeah, really great advice. On this project, there was also a quantity surveyor.
As well,
yes.
Absolutely. Who did a fantastic job with helping us with cost control. We all worked tremendously together as a team, I think, all of us. So there was good budget management from the beginning. When opportunities arose, like for instance, the additional bedroom that came about downstairs, which is one of my favorite spaces actually in the house.
It's so great.
It was a space underneath the garage, a volume space, which wasn't going to be exposed and opened up at the end of the day. The client saw the area and said, can we not use this area for something? We were thinking about a gym or a or a cinema room or something like that would have lent itself well. At the end of the day, the client valued having an additional bedroom on the house if possible. And we created that space, and it really is
it's fabulous.
One of the nicest in the house.
Fabulous guest suite. It's a whole suite, not just a room.
It is a suite, yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but again, managing the cost variation of that with the quantity surveyor's help, with the contractor also being very budget mindful as well. Again, working together well as a team to bring that, full potential of the house out.
And I think, like you said, working together as a team, so important, especially, I'm sure that would have been probably one of your biggest challenges, considering that you were in a different city to where the project was and the building was happening.
Well,
just
for us,
communication.
For us, we're able to be wherever our clients need us.
100%.
So, I mean, it's we do projects in Cape Town, Plettenberg Bay, George. We're currently busy with a project up in the North Coast.
Amazing.
So for us, it doesn't really matter where you're based. We've collaborated with projects in the UAE before, all over Africa as well. So we can really be wherever we need to be. The technology nowadays allows us. I
was going to say, it's technology. That's what it boils down to.
Exactly right,
yeah. We're so lucky that we have that and are able to work, apart and in different cities, etc., countries.
I think for me, the last question, just as again with my consumer lens again, is just the maybe fears or concerns around, as you were talking now, budget consciousness and price. And the minute you mention this, like consultancy team, it just sounds like, oh my word, I need to be a millionaire. I mean, I think that's another part of the myths that we're always trying to bust on this show, particularly as well, is that you don't need to be like balling. You don't need to be, like anyone can actually, get these. Can you talk a bit about that? It's just in terms of the allaying people's fears about how these things work, or you work based on, you work with what you're given budget-wise by a client, or can you talk a bit about that?
I just, before Brad weighs in on this, just my 2 cents worth is that I think often, even though it might sound daunting in that, you're appointing an architect, you're appointing an interior designer, perhaps you're appointing a quantity surveyor, at the end of the day, your team is going to safeguard you from making what could be very expensive, costly mistakes if you didn't have them. That is like one of the biggest value-added aspects of having a team working on your project, in that we're there to guide you to make the correct decisions for the project. So ultimately, you're getting the best product. And also, we are spending the money that you have set aside wisely and correctly.
Yes, absolutely. Getting the most value out of it. Yeah.
Exactly.
The misconception that we sort of run off willy-nilly, don't pay attention to the budget and just spend. And there's a responsibility that a professional has, and there's an ultimate respect towards the client and the budget of the project. To utilize the funds that are available in the most effective way.
100%.
And that is, and again, when you have a full consultancy team, everyone is responsible to one another to make sure that happens. We look over all of the detailing that Bridget puts together in her team. The quantity surveyor looks over everything that we do, the finishes we specify that. So you are safeguarded a lot more by having a consultancy team that works together to make sure that the best end product is brought out for the client, the best investment, because ultimately it's a massive investment for the client, is achieved.
100%. And you're getting the best end product that you could, possibly want from it.
Yeah. Fantastic. Brad, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. And please shoot us some questions in the comments. If you've got any topics or ideas that you'd like us to explore, or other professionals you'd like us to feature on the episodes, we are all ears. Thank you for joining us on My Stylish Life.
Bye guys. Thanks.